The team that we're playing this week is Louisville. I don't want to hear about next week or we're focused on Louisville to and through the end of this week's game. Anything else that might happen after that is after that. Anything else that we might, treat the way that we've been doing it for the, Jesus, was it 13 years that I've been blogging at State of the U? We might look at it in that same typical, kind of way. But this week we play Louisville. And so our focus and conversation will be exclusively there. And I believe that they have earned it because they are a challenging team. This is a team, one of the games that we did circle before the year, like, hey, in looking at the list of toughest games and like where it falls in the schedule and da-da-da, yeah, we're there. So, the only way that we're, that you build the kind of season that Miami wants to build is to win the game that you're playing each week. And so we're playing Louisville this week. We're going to focus on Louisville this week. Anything after that, we will focus on after that. I hope set the lines of engagement, so you guys understand the focus is on Louisville and anything else will be when it's time.
We have in recent weeks addressed all of the superlatives from this team, but also a few slight concerns. One was the running game with all the prowess of this offensive line and the two backs in particular, really four deep, but the two in particular that get most of the load in the meaningful snaps, Fletcher and Martinez. I saw Louisville play against SMU a couple weeks ago, and I pretty much took it in that entire game. And there is some hay to be, where is my cliche, whatever that cliche is about making hay.
Hay to be made, yeah.
Is there to be made by Miami in the run game against this Louisville defense?
I mean, I think that there's hay to be made anywhere, with passing and running against the Louisville defense. They are, they do have a talented unit, but they do struggle a little bit giving up big plays. And I think the same can be said for Miami, especially in recent weeks, where giving up chunk plays against, Virginia Tech and Cal, and the explosive plays that were given up against Cal were, that was challenging. Like, clearly we found a way to win that game and yada, yada, yada. And I haven't said this until I really just thought about it right now. But like the outlier performance of the explosive passing plays by Cal, again, they had a singular passing play over 30 yards all year. It was a 46-yard throw. They eclipsed that 4 times in the game against Miami. Man, I wish I would have written this, but I mean, you guys got to blow this up. The last time that something like that in this kind of disparate level of explosivity was shown was Middle Tennessee State against Miami when they beat us. Because that was a dink and dunk 10, 12 yard, but then they're hitting, they hit all the shot plays in the world, right? You remember that game? And one of those receivers is actually on Virginia Tech. Now, the Lane kid, who's the punt returner, right? So he played in Hard Rock Stadium on Middle Tennessee years ago, beat Miami, yada, 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 has transferred to Virginia Tech as a redshirt senior, came back to the scene of the crime, and it was not the same, but yeah, but Cal had a similar kind of outlier passing game explosivity performance against Miami, and it wasn't the same because Middle Tennessee's was worse even than that, which, 4 plays for 240 yards. You're thinking, bro, like there's been worse, and we saw it, but it was that kind of performance from the defense. So while there is room for Miami to operate on offense and find, green grass and run, that also presents itself for Louisville. And this is a team that has fashioned themselves as, or thinks of themselves as, better than Miami. And I hate to say it, they have beaten us.
Cam was reaching for a key on his laptop. I could see it, and he obviously selected the wrong one. And Cam is back. I could see you reaching to make a selection. You obviously wiped us off the screen. I've done that.
I went to go hit a new tab, and apparently I hit Control T. I hit Control R for reload, and everything. So yeah, not great. But Louisville won last year, and Miami beat them twice. 19 and 20 back to back. But before that, it was 31-13. Bobby Petrino against Al Golden. The year before that, 36-9. Charlie Strong beating Al Golden, and in 2006, Bobby Petrino 31-7 over a Larry Coker Miami team. So what's that? 4-2 in the last 6, include 3-5 or 3-2 in the last 5, and having won last year. It's a team that Miami has struggled with, and Louisville. I mean, the ascension of their program in the 2020s is thanks to South Florida. Like, if we're going to be honest, Theodore Bridgewater and Lamar Jackson going there. Like, Teddy Bridgewater was going to come here. We fired Randy Shannon. I get it. He goes there, has a legendary career. Lamar Jackson, I mean, I'm not going to call him just mid, but he was a good high school quarterback, but he wasn't Lamar Jackson like that. That was the year after Brad Kaya. So we were looking at him as maybe like a, quarterback, and we'll see what happens, kind of Anquan Bolden-ish thing. Anquan Bolden played 3 reps at quarterback. He was an All-American, like first-team All-American high school quarterback, if you don't know. Played 3 reps at quarterback his freshman year. Then Bobby Bowden was like, hey, we're short on bodies in the receiver line. Why don't you go over there and help out? And the rest was history, right? So we're thinking of Lamar Jackson kind of like that. Shout out to his mama, who said, don't talk to me unless it's about my son playing quarterback. We're going to see that my son is a quarterback, period, pointblank.com in the story. Bobby Petrino was like, yeah, okay. Miami, you got Brad Kaya, borderline freshman All-American. You think that you're pretty set. We'll see. And we're good. We're going to go there. And the ascension of Lamar Jackson happened from there. And multiple other guys throughout this roster of Louisville. So, in the past and present, have been from South Florida or, spurned by Miami. And, again, I disagree, but, they fancy themselves as better than us. And maybe that's one of the reasons.
Better than who?
That, Louisville fancies themselves as better than Miami. And they've beaten us in enough times. I mean, 4 out of 6 since 2006. Okay. I disagree. And maybe that's one of the reasons why they grate on my nerves. But, you got to go and show and prove at this point. And, I went around, talking about, the ascension of their program being based on basically 2 South Florida quarterbacks. One from Miami Northwestern, one from Boynton Beach, who lived in Pompano and drove up. Pompano Beach being in Broward County, Boynton Beach being in West Palm, who, and drove up there. Interesting residency rules, but whatever. I mean, half the damn school of Miramar High School is, lives in Miami-Dade County and walks under the bridge. Sorry if I'm, telling, tales out of school, but I'm not trying to shut them down. My point is their program in the current century has been built on South Florida talent. And they got a couple legendary generational guys and rode that wave. And they're looking to try to continue to do that. Ja'Cory Brooks, Miami Booker T. Washington, former 5-star, who went to Alabama, he's there and scoring from 85 yards, it seems like multiple times, a game. Obviously Donald Chaney Jr. is up there. Obviously, Gilbert Frierson left here and went up there in years past. And I'm sure that there's more. I haven't really paid that close of attention to their roster, but yeah, no, this is a game that is on the, in the forefront of everybody's brain, and it's going to be tough. They have 2 losses already and, thought that they would be undefeated, maybe 1 loss. I know that one of those losses was to Notre Dame, so it didn't affect ACC standing for them. But yeah, losing SMU also, so they're in a real corner if they're trying to get to the ACC championship game. So, in a similar way to Virginia Tech, that caged animal, like sometimes they roll over, but sometimes they fight like real hard. So it's really incumbent upon Miami to come out of this bye week, have addressed some of the things that have gone awry, especially on defense, and continue to push forward. But yeah, this is going to be a good game. Miami is favored on the road in this one. Spoiler alert, for our forthcoming conversation when we do have a Louisville guest who joins us, I'm picking Miami to win this game. Miami 4.5-point favorites, over under 61.5. As you see on the screen right there. Noontime kick on ABC. This week is a noontime kick. The primetime box office boys do return to 7 p.m. on ESPN in the future, the near future, as in the week after this. But again, we're focused on Louisville. But it's going to be a tough challenge, but one that I think that Miami is up for, and especially having lost to this team last year, and 4 times in the last 6, they'll be intrinsically motivated. This is not one where it's just like, oh, we're playing whomever, and it's going to be maybe a sleepy Saturday, and I don't know, and no, we'll be dialed for this one, and yeah, I will be dialed in as well.
I remember bowl games, just that's my nature because they used to be important. So I do remember 36-9, which actually that time period was the launch of Cam and I producing content together. So that's been a while, as they say.
Yeah.
I remember the beat down that Miami gave them in 2020 on a Saturday night on ABC, a game in which Rhett Lashley seemed to be one step ahead of their DC, certainly in drawing up all sorts of gadgetry, not anything super fancy like crazy reverse passes, but just isolating skill position players in great matchups downfield.
Yeah.
And then, of course, last year's game was a tremendous game that came down to, if you have no rooting interest, that came down to a goal line stand inside the 5-yard line. But back to this comparison between these two schools' football programs. Okay, if you give any historical context to this, that's of course a joke. It's not even it doesn't even warrant the breath to speak or utter. It's an insult for anybody on the Miami side to even engage in that discussion. I wouldn't even, there's one thing if somebody presents to me a legitimate argument, I am fully ready and engaged in, but sometimes when there are arguments and debates brought to the forefront that are completely and utterly absurd, then I don't stoop to engaging. But if you're talking about like the last 10 years, I guarantee that if you look at the two teams' records, program records over the last 10-ish years, they're almost identical. They're extremely close.
Yeah, but hey, fandom is also based in passion, and I mean, this is from people that I know and respect, as well, that I've heard such things. But yeah, again, maybe that's why it grates on my nerves so much. Maybe that's the entry point is that they've used to get under my skin. But hey, either way, I will definitely be watching this game. I definitely want to win this game. in a vacuum because like it's the game that we're playing this week, and also because like I'm tired of hearing it from them, to be perfectly honest. Like, but hey, when you win, you can talk and everything. So Miami needs to go out there and win this week.
I don't know if we're going to be able to see this, but fortunately, I am a nerd for this sort of thing. So I've got a complete, what this is, folks, is this is like all-time rankings I have accumulated and things that I care about, like win percentage all time, AP rank all time, bowl wins, major bowl wins, conference championships, and conference percentage. Oh, I even go to the extreme of determining, okay, you can't just go by conference championships historically. What is your percentage of winning conference championships? Because obviously some teams have been in conferences for 80 years and you're trying to compare them to somebody that's been in the conference for 30 years, etc.
Mm-hmm.
National championships, number one draft picks, meaning first rounders, overall draft picks, all the various All-America teams, Heisman winners, et cetera, award winners from all the various positions. Okay, if we're taking Miami, there they are highlighted in the blue. And again, I know I'm not going to expect people to read all this, but if we go all the way down to the end, I've got Miami's winning percentage during the playoff era. And it's that 75-53 number. That's their winning percentage during the playoff era. And I guarantee that's almost exact to Louisville's. We shall see here in a second. 75-53, 68-56. It's actually better. Miami's got a 563 winning percentage during the playoff era, and Louisville's is 548.
I mean, so comparable, but yeah,
and
I don't know.
That's during a downtime for Miami.
Right, exactly. And
20th century is almost
just
identical.
It's one of those things, but
and then Miami's got obviously a huge lead past that.
But we'll see. I did see Toast from the Orange Bowl boys was traveling up to Kentucky today, and he was making the statement and said, "Yeah, man, all the Canes fans on this flight from down here up to Kentucky on a Wednesday are degenerates who only want to go, drink and everything. Because who else would go up there if you're not trying to go a couple days early to go sample, good Kentucky bourbon and all those kind of different things." I'm like, funny, bro, because like you're on that plane, but I mean, like, yeah, that is what it is. But I mean, like, yeah, we just gotta go and handle business is the thing. I think we're built for it. I think that this is kind of becoming one of those seasons where Miami is finding ways to win games, has the talent at every level to win. I don't anticipate it being a blowout in either direction, but I'm looking at Miami to win, this game. And yeah, just finding a way through. But that's what Miami has to do this week for sure.